where he was. He did nothing. He just made a of himself. Again, don't get me wrong. If it came on top and he came to my face and he tried anything, I'd have to defend myself. And trust me.
I think he's referring to Tyson Fury. Most people, when they want to talk about their children, they might pull their mobile phone out and show a few pictures.
The cake and shove it around your arsehole before I do it.
John, thank you, John.
Little kids, I'm a machine. Me, thanking anybody question who I am here. If I take them, come on.
Talking shit about the Cobra, because listen, even now, and I'm not looking for a fight. I don't want to fight. I'm done and dusted. Career's finished. I'd absolutely splatter you, easy. Anybody who loses, well, you didn't lose. Anyone who nearly loses to fake Paul, right, cannot be getting in the ring with a 4-time world champ, Hall of Famer like the Cobra.
Now this is where it heats up. After John Fury's wild warnings at the Eddie Hall and Tommy Fury press conference, Carl Froch is not backing down. The Cobra fires straight back, making it clear if John steps forward, he gets dealt with.
Can you remember David Haye and Derek Chisora at the press conference when Chisora came to David Haye and David Haye put a right hand and a big left hook elbow onto the chin? That's what you've got to do. If somebody's coming to you and coming into your face, you've got to defend yourself. When you've got nowhere else to go, you've got to let the shots go. And if Big John Fury, the fighting man, who's never had a fight in his life, not for the last 20 years anyway, if he comes for me looking for some aggro, trust me.
Carl Froch turns the pressure up another level here. He's retired, yes, but the confidence is still elite level. Taking shots at John Fury's credibility and even referencing Jake Paul, Carl Froch makes it clear there are levels to this game.
Pipe down, no beef for you at all, but don't talk shit about me because it's not gonna end well for you. About talking about mentioning your name for clout. I'm mentioning your name because you're chatting shit. Your old man stepped out of line. He's been put in his place, been put back in.
Big John Fury is presenting himself as a major force in the sport, insisting on respect and authority. However, against someone like Carl Froch, those words sound more like self-promotion than real threat, exposing a gap between reputation and proven ability.
Should be on there. I just want to tell them that, you know what? You can't knock me, mate. Disrespect me and I'm going to take the job over. I don't care who it is. You disrespect me and I'm taking the job over. And nobody can stop me. Because I got a right to be there because I'm his father. I'm not some idiot. If it wasn't for me, who built the full story around him, what would there be? I'm a big player in this game.
Carl Froch is outlining exactly how he sees the fight playing out, with calm confidence and sharp detail. He breaks down Big John Fury's position and questions his relevance, reinforcing the clear difference between elite experience and loud talk.
John Fury's a big bully, and big bullies need putting into place. And if I'm the man that has to do it, I will do it. I don't want to beat an old man up. I don't want to start on a 60-year-old man. But when I look back, when I beat George Groves up in front of 80,000 fans at Wembley Stadium, rendering him unconscious, he was 11 years younger than me. I'm only 10 years younger than Big John Fury. I know he doesn't look well, does he? He looks a bit older. I don't want to give him any stick, but he looks he's 10 years older than me, 60-year-old man. I'm pressing on for 50. So, is it a fair fight?
Eddie Hall is voicing clear frustration, calling out the constant talk and lack of action. His words echo the same sentiment building around Big John Fury, where theatrics are beginning to outweigh credibility in the eyes of many observers.
He's just a fucking idiot. Plain and simple. I mean, geez. I mean, look, we've all seen the tantrums he's had. You know, headbutting walls and headbutting people and smashing Perspex glass and holding his balls and saying he's the king of the world and King Kong balls and whatever else. And I was just fed up of it, you know, genuinely.
Dominic Ingle is acknowledging the range of opinions while still pointing toward a likely outcome. The general tone suggests that when it comes to actual fighting capability, Carl Froch is widely seen as operating on a completely different level.
Carl Froch would flatten him, and then, if he took him down and he did this or in the street, and everybody's got their opinions, which is good. It keeps it alive.
Duke McKenzie is framing the situation as part of the wider spectacle around the Fury name. While it brings attention, it also highlights that Carl Froch's standing remains solid, with his credibility rooted in achievements rather than noise.
Oh, who knows? You know, they're great at self-promoting, aren't they? And, you know, listen, you've heard it all before. You've seen it all before. When Tyson Fury fights, the whole circus comes to town and everybody just jumps on board and says the first thing that comes into their head. So It is what it is. Like I said, I don't think Froch should be disappointed with that one bit. You're not, certainly. You know, so is it good for the sport? They're promoting the fight. Simple as that. They're just promoting.
Eddie Hearn is acknowledging that things crossed a line, but also admitting the reality of boxing promotion. Controversy brings attention, and attention brings numbers. Still, from a competitive standpoint, Carl Froch stands in a completely different class. While Big John Fury thrives in chaotic moments like these, Carl Froch's legacy was built through discipline, elite opposition, and world-level victories. That contrast is exactly why many view this situation as hype-driven on one side and credibility-driven on the other.
I mean, listen, it's boxing, it's family. John's John. Both goading each other. Both very personal. Both means a lot to everybody. Shouldn't have done it, but it's done.
Frank Warren is clearly not impressed, labeling the situation as damaging for the sport. That reaction reflects how sections of the boxing world see Big John Fury's behavior as unnecessary and over the top. In contrast, Carl Froch represents the traditional values of the sport, built on skill, preparation, and achievement inside the ring. This moment highlights a growing divide between spectacle and professionalism, with Carl Froch firmly positioned on the side of proven excellence.
Need more of it, that's for sure, and everybody wants to show some respect to each other, and let's see the fight where it should happen, in the ring on Saturday.
Tyson Fury is giving a rare honest take here, praising the hype but also admitting the reality of the situation. Even he recognizes the danger Carl Froch presents. That statement carries weight because it comes from someone closest to Big John Fury. It reinforces the idea that while the talk can build excitement, the actual outcome in a real fight would heavily favor Carl Froch, whose experience and ability remain on a completely different level.
Both of them. They need to fucking have a better sense and show some professionalism in this game.
Johnny Nelson is describing Big John Fury as someone driven by emotion rather than control. That lack of composure becomes a major weakness, especially when compared to Carl Froch, who built his career on discipline and mental strength. In high-pressure situations, composure separates elite fighters from the rest. This analysis further strengthens the view that Big John Fury's reactions are impulsive, while Carl Froch operates with calculated confidence and experience.
The pressure is now on John to behave himself. He's distracted a lot of attention and talk, and I'm quite sure someone will have a word with him out. The authorities will have a word with him out there.
Wade Plemines is pointing out a critical factor that cannot be ignored: conditioning and age. Confidence alone does not carry a fighter through rounds, especially against someone like Carl Froch, who competed at the highest level. The physical demands of boxing would quickly expose the gap, with stamina becoming a decisive issue. This perspective brings the discussion back to reality, where physical readiness and professional experience favor Carl Froch by a wide margin.
I love that John is just so confident in himself. He would gas inside of 2 rounds. 2 rounds, but if he even made it 2 rounds with Carl Froch, he would gas probably in the first round. He's 60 years old. I'm not saying he couldn't hobble about for 4 rounds or something, but he would be gassed inside of 2. Because the way that John runs...
Pain Game is taking a mocking angle, but underneath the humor there is a clear point being made. Big John Fury constantly leans on identity and loud personality to stay relevant in conversations that should be centered around fighters and performances. That approach may grab attention, but it does not translate into credibility inside a ring. Carl Froch's name carries weight because of what he achieved against elite opposition, not because of theatrics or shock value. The contrast becomes sharper the more this situation develops, with one side relying on noise while the other is backed by proven history. It reinforces why many fans naturally side with Carl Froch when things turn serious.
Father of the king of the world. I think he's referring to Tyson Fury. You know, when you have kids, you know, most people, when they want to talk about their children, they might pull their mobile phone out and show a few pictures. Big John just shows you his balls. That's where they came from. If there's anyone who needs a Manscaped advert, it's fucking John Fury.
Carl Froch is addressing the situation directly and exposing the nature of the threats being made. Instead of reacting emotionally, he presents it with composure and clarity, which only strengthens his position. There is a clear difference between controlled confidence and reckless talk, and that difference is becoming more visible with every exchange. Carl Froch does not need to exaggerate or shout to make his point. His calm delivery carries authority because it is backed by real experience. Meanwhile, Big John Fury's words risk crossing into territory that undermines his credibility rather than building it. The balance of respect and control continues to favor Carl Froch.
Quite threatening, actually, and quite, if I was a bit of a snowflake, then I'd have been upset, I'd have been offended by it, because it was threatening, he was calling it on, and he was saying basically, watch your back, and you don't want to go back to prison. So he needs to be careful, doesn't he? I mean, he's talking about going back to prison, so he's putting loose threats out there.
Pain Game is highlighting qualities that often get overlooked in these debates. Carl Froch is not just a former champion on paper, he is physically imposing, battle-tested, and still maintains a strong level of fitness. Those attributes do not disappear overnight, especially for someone who competed at the very top. When experienced figures like Eddie Hearn speak highly of Carl Froch's toughness, it adds another layer of credibility. This is not hype or exaggeration, it is recognition earned over years of elite competition. Against that kind of profile, Big John Fury's position becomes increasingly difficult to justify in any serious fighting context.
Calls a genuine, world champion level fighter, and he's actually bigger than you'd think, right, when you meet him. He's a lot younger than John, and his peak was outrageously good, right, and he's kept himself in shape. And even now, I remember having a chat with Eddie Hearn, about what fighter you've met is the toughest fighter, and he said to me, if I'm ever in a bit of bother, the man I want standing next to me at a pub or whatever is called
Johnny Nelson is giving a balanced but telling assessment. He recognizes that Carl Froch still has the physical capability to dominate if he truly committed to preparation. That speaks volumes about the level Carl Froch operated at during his career. Even at this stage, the foundation remains strong enough to outperform someone without recent competitive experience. The hesitation is not about ability, but about whether it is worth stepping back into that environment. From a pure boxing perspective, the outcome seems predictable to many observers. Carl Froch's strength, conditioning, and technical grounding create a gap that would be extremely difficult for Big John Fury to bridge.
But if Carl did do it, I think Carl would smash him. But I just don't think he will do it, because he's got that memory, he's got that something about him, that he's at an age where he's still physically fit enough and strong enough if he commits himself to the prep.
Duke McKenzie is bringing the discussion back to reality and professionalism. Carl Froch comes from a world where fights are structured, meaningful, and tied to achievement and reward. He is not driven by random confrontations or emotional reactions. That mindset separates seasoned professionals from those caught up in the moment. For Carl Froch, stepping into any situation requires purpose, whether it is legacy, competition, or financial incentive. Without that, there is no reason to engage. This further underlines the difference in approach, where Big John Fury operates on impulse while Carl Froch represents discipline and calculated decision-making shaped by years at the highest level.
And then there's Froch, who's been paid to fight. He's used to getting money for knocking guys out. I'm sure if they put enough knocks in front of Carl Froch, then he might rise to it. But he ain't going to rise to it if there's no money on the table, if there's no end goal. If you want to punch up, you can go out in the street and have that any...
The entire situation between Carl Froch and Big John Fury has developed into a major talking point in boxing, because it brings together two very different mindsets. Carl Froch is a proven world champion who built his reputation through discipline, skill, and elite-level performances against top opposition, while Big John Fury relies more on emotion, confidence, and verbal intensity to make his presence felt. As the tension continues, Carl Froch has made it clear that he is not impressed by threats and believes he would handle any physical situation with control and experience, whereas Big John Fury continues to stand firm on his belief that he deserves respect and recognition in every exchange. This contrast highlights the difference between proven achievement and outspoken personality, which is why fans are so divided in their opinions. The real question now is whether this rivalry remains purely verbal or if it ever moves into something more serious, and if it did, how experience would match against emotion in a real scenario. Now it is your turn to decide whose side you are on. Drop your thoughts in the comments and join the discussion about Carl Froch and Big John Fury.